Greetings everyone. Today is March 8th here in North Dakota and it is 25 degrees out, and as you can see we're still buried with snow, had a little bit of melting ice, and the wildlife is kind of gone today. We're going to give you a second update on my motorcycle project. It's a 1966 250 Ducati Scrambler. And there it is. To this point, I've gotten obviously the tins painted and some miscellaneous stuff, the seat and most of the assembly is there. The engine is just getting started to be worked on, but a little bit of talk today about electrical stuff. I'm very fortunate to have a good friend who's a master electrician, and he has helped us get wiring fairly well straightened out. We've got some things to button up front here, but everything is working. Batteries mounted, charged now. The electrical ignition system is this Electrics World, specifically for a narrow case Ducati. That's the number. If you're interested, some of their products looks to be very good quality. The flywheel, stator, stuff that I'm not quite familiar with just yet, setting the timing, switch, plug housing. This up here is a coil mounted in the original factory spot, and this is another electrical component that goes along with the system, and I had to be pretty cautious about that because I had a variety of things to accomplish here. The engine gets fairly close up in top here. I had taken a bunch of pictures and made some measurement assessments by looking at the height of the gusset here, and I was pretty comfortable with that. I just took a piece of material equal to the width of this and I welded in a stud. I don't know if this helps any, but I just put 6 tack welds on it. I also added a little wire loom tab here because I know the throttle cable comes down here, so it gives it a place to hang. I don't know that I'll pinch it, but gives it a spot to sit. Typical tools, we solder all of our joints, which gives me confidence. We've got covering, heat shrink, we've got some of this woven protectant that's on it. You see we mount stuff here. You got to be kind of careful of the tank tunnel. This is a little bit of a bulge, but it does clear plenty fine. This is a look inside the compartment box that I made. Oh, here's the key. And it houses the ignition key. I'm told this is a ignition key suitable to what the Harley-Davidsons are using currently. It's made from or sold by a company called Drag Specialties, and it's a 2-position function switch, but it actually has 3 orientations: off, on, and then a removal spot. So even when it's off, the key can't come out. So I'm happy with that. It's got a very nice solid feel to it. That should work quite well for me. This area right here is where the crankcase breather tube will pass through. It'll tuck down here. It'll be a little bit snug in this area as far as getting to the key, but I'm sure I can make that work. You know, the brake switch down here, that's all mounted and protected and tied in with cable devices. And the taillight, inside the taillight I have a flashing module that is like a strobe that blinks the LED taillight. And I have that on all my motorcycles because I'm always afraid of somebody behind me not seeing me very well. So behind the reflector disc in here is that item mounted, and it's maybe 1.75 3/4 thick by maybe 1 inch, and I found a nice spot to tuck that in behind there. These are LED turn signal lights, very nice, bright aluminum housing. You know, they're wired and tucked up inside here and routed underneath here very nicely. That works really well. Some of you may be concerned about some of these items on the side here, but I actually have some aluminum plates that will go on here, such as that. It'll be a little bit closer because there's a nut on there now, but it'll cover up everything. You'll see the battery a little bit, but that's no different than what you would have seen normally anyway. Up top we have an aftermarket switch that does the horn, left turn signal, right, and well, there's another switch on there to turn the headlight on and off. This has a high beam, low beam, but I chose to just select the high beam and just have it turn on and off. I don't really see myself riding this in a situation where I have to be concerned about high beam, low beam. So this is a little odd shaped compartment box that I made to fit in this area, knowing we were going to have some different stuff to go in there. This is a very, very nice fuse box. It's made by a company called Eastern Beaver, and I think they're out of Japan. And very nice fuses, different powering options. You can have some keyed power, some non-keyed power. And I was thinking we were going to have a whole bunch of wires going in and out of here, but we basically have a positive and a ground and 1, 2, 3, 4 different circuits. So I don't know if they offered a smaller product, but it looks like I could have gotten by with that. This is a cover we just have zip tied on here temporarily. It'll just fold over and go inside. Yeah, a little bit of a look in here if you can see it, the key. And these are fused relays. When you turn the key on, it enables the power to here via a relay, and they have fuses in there to protect that. Up front here is the headlight, and I've got there was 3 holes in here, and what I did is I chose to have this one is a light that is an option to the electric system. Simply indicates that the motor is running and the system is charging suitably. This is a light, these are LED both by the way, from an auto parts store. Would like to have had a little bit smaller, but that's what I got. This one is going to blink for either the left or the right turn signal, and in order to make that work, we're going to put in a couple of diodes. They're directionally controlling electrical components. So whether you turn the left turn signal or the right on, the turn signals themselves will still function independent, but this will blink whether you have the right or the left on. This is just a on-off switch. Also, this is a circuit option for the electrics. If you need to kill the engine for any reason, for some reason I have a concern about the Dell'Orto carburetor slide sticking. Maybe I have a bad dream, but something that gives me comfort that I can just reach up there and flick it off. When I put the front forks together, I had a phenomenon happen that surprised me. You'll see that this cover sticks out quite a bit more on this side than this side, but yet up here it's very flush. And I don't know if this cover has some distortion to it or not, but I need to find a way of flexing that back. I also need to cut a slot into both sides of my fender mount that I made. This will obviously travel up and down, and I don't want this to bang into that, so it'll look kind of like a fork brace that we all used to have years ago. Closer look at the tank, turned out pretty good. Got some comments about orange peel, but maybe that was the look I was going after. I don't know. I'm very happy with it. The two-part clear went on surprisingly well. The stickers I had bought from some providers, they are put on over the clear. They are right here. I was worried about the chemical makeup of mostly this sticker that says made in Italy, and this one's pretty tough. This one's a nice vinyl. I just didn't want anything to dissolve and make a mess, and then I'm really got a mess. So so that's where we are now. To me, it seems pretty evident I'm going to make it by springtime. I got another couple months to go here. I'm moving on to the engine a little bit. We'll talk about that in just a minute. This is a product that a good friend of mine recommended. It's this woven sheathing. You know, we all have seen this stuff, which does the job, but it's not very nice. So I bought quite a variety of different sizes of that off eBay, and we're going to have quite a bit left over, but this friend of mine that does electrical work, he can use it on some of his projects. So I'm not a real engine builder, and I was fearful of getting into this step. I did do a little bit of light emery work on the case dowels to make sure the cases would fit together nicely, not loosely, but not a terrible press fit like they seemed to have when I first took it apart. It was 3/4 of a day job to get it to come apart. So you'll see that the gasket is in here. It's adhered to one side. I do like this Prime Seal material. It's kind of a dark, kind of a thick honey material, but it doesn't dry hard. So I have that in there, and then I spent probably 3 hours a couple days ago with some fine emery working on the journals of the crank so that they would fit into the case bearings, and they went in well. I have a dial indicator set up on here. I just made a piece of steel that goes to some of the thread holes, and I've got about 14/10 or 1 thou and 4/10 of movement. The range is 12/10 to 20/10, so I'm right in that middle at about 14/15, and depending on if the case gaskets will compress a little bit more, that 15 may come down a little bit closer to the low end 12, but at least I know right up front here I'm in the middle of the target. So the next step, according to the books that I have, is to start with the transmission mechanisms. This has kept me up at night, because when I disassembled it, all of a sudden I had a bunch of little rollers fall out, and I go, oh crap, what do I do with those? Well, apparently that's a normal occurrence. A guy just has to know which case to separate first, and so I'm going to do some studying and go about this one step at a time. I did buy probably half of the shims that were available on eBay because I didn't know what I needed, and I ended up with a package of shims for the crank, and I had to deburr them. They would measure, let's just say 5 thou, but over the burr it would jump up to like 8 thou. So I had some fine emery, like 1,000, and I rubbed on there and took that all off so that when I put it on I knew I had a set value. A friend of mine humorously said, "Why did you deburr it? Because that's the purpose of the oil filter." Well, I needed that laugh yesterday, so I appreciate that humor. It was good to hear. So let's see, what else? General wire, a friend of mine gave me. We got that all taken care of. You know, the tricks to doing this is to have a good micrometer, a good feel for dial indicator, you know, moving this up and down. A trick that I found is I was trying to get the journal on the crank to fit into each case bearing separately. And I got one to fit well and one to fit well on the other side, just barely. And in my opinion, it just barely fit in. Well, once I put the two cases together with the crank in, well, now the crank is not allowed to move any direction. It only can go up and down, and it was more free than I thought it would be. I was actually fearful that it would be tighter. And what I have had happen is, as I turn the crank, if I put my finger on this inner journal or inner race, I can actually stop this from rotating and this still rotate. And I was displeased with that. I would like to have had, you know, maybe a 1/10 or 2/10 larger diameter on the crank to be a little bit tighter. I have had a lot of experience with Loctite Permatex product in the past with industrial aerospace applications, and I just got off the phone with them. And they assured me that they have a product called 603 that is good up to 307 degrees Fahrenheit and minus 70 degrees Fahrenheit, and that more than covers the North Dakota temperature extremes that we have. Not sure you can see that, but we're getting a little bit of snow. I like snow. So when I go to put this together, the inner cases, I'll put a little bit of Loctite 603 on there, leave it for 24 hours, and I'll sleep better at night knowing that I have the assurance of a good aerospace company and a product specifically meant for putting loose fit bearings onto shafts. It's called a retaining compound. Loctite is well known for thread locker, and you know, they've been bought by Permatex and now another company, and they make, you know, hundreds of different products. Just a little bit of a side topic. You know, I don't have any storage compartment on this motorcycle for a couple tools, insurance cards, whatever. So I bought this leather canvas bag from a company called Duluth Trading, and I'm not sure if I'm going to lash it to the back of the seat or not, but it's just something that I bought to have. So one last look here. Nothing real tricky going on, just being careful step by step to make sure I got everything on and that on correctly and things mounted right, and I just want to make sure that when we're all done here it's going to be what I need, and we'll be happy. Next episode will be a little bit further on with the motor. Hopefully, once we start putting it in, I'll shoot another video then. But for now, take care. World peace. Thanks.